is Felicity Ahafianyo. She joins us. She'll let us know what the weather is going to be looking like. Felicity, good morning to you. Hope you're well.
Yeah, good morning, Helen. I am much better today than yesterday.
Happy Eid al-Adha to you.
Same to you.
It's a bit overcast here, as I was just mentioning. Are the weather conditions going to prevail? What is the breakdown for the entire country this morning?
Yeah, thanks so much, and good morning to our dear audience. For today, we have a rainstorm that is moving in. Currently, it's raining heavily over Jasikai, over Tamale, over Damango, Peki, Ho, and its environs. Those of us over the capital too, we expect the system to affect us. So it's going to be cloudy weather over the entire country with pockets of rain and thunderstorms. So it's going to be showers of blessings, if I may say. But then those of us over the middle sector, Eastern Oti region, Volta, Ashanti, Bono East, Bono, then Ahafo, these areas, we expect them to have a moderate impact. It's going to be very cloudy. It's going to have frequent thunderstorms with possibility of moderate windy conditions. In terms of temperatures, we expect it to be a bit mild in the afternoon. It's going to be an average of 30 degrees Celsius, but coast will have 29. Slightly north of the coast now will report the same, but those of us over the transition and then the north, ours will be around 30, 31 degrees Celsius. The state of the sea today is expected to be rough, so fisher folks need to be a bit careful. For the Volta Lake, this morning is not advisable for fishing. They have to wait for the storm to pass, and then in the afternoon to the evening, they can resume their fishing activities. So this is how it's going to be for today.
All right, Felicity, thank you so much for that. Thank you for connecting with us. And of course, we'll check back in if there are any updates.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a fantastic morning.
And fly me to the sky.
Well, that was Felicity Ahafianyo. She's a chief forecaster with the Ghana Met, letting us know what to expect by way of weather this morning.
Your light, but how I wish you'd be here with me.
3FM Sunrise.
Well, it is official. James Quayson wins a Sin North by-election with a wider margin this time round. Official results from the Electoral Commission Ghana as regards yesterday's by-election in a Sin North make James Jachi Quayson of the NDC the winner with some 17,245 of the total valid votes cast. Now we know that he beats Charles Opoku of the New Patriotic Party NPP and Bernice Enyonam Sefenu of the Liberal Party of Ghana LPG to reclaim the seat. Now his votes margin as compared to the year 2020 result is over 1,300. Now in that election, Mr. Jachi Quayson polled some 17,498 votes to beat NPP's Abner Mensah, who at the time polled some 14,193 votes. Now, you recall all of this came about, and by all of this, I mean the by-election, when Mr. Jachi Quayson was declared invalidly elected in 2020 by a Supreme Court judgment. Well, he returns to Parliament. Let me say good morning to some very handsome gentlemen in the studio this morning. Yes. There's nothing like a free lunch, so just know that that compliment comes with some payments, which is due shortly. Good morning to Sixers. Good morning to you, Samuel. How are we feeling? The two S's in the building.
Good morning. You're going to have salad meat, so we will compensate you with salad meat.
Don't be like the
Barka da
government.
Sallah, Hajia.
Don't be like the government
Barka da
and
Sallah.
raise my expectations.
Hajia Halinatu.
Did you slip the government into this matter?
No,
It's a
because there are
simple
some
promise he
promises.
made.
Yes, and we, as a Ghanaian woman, I am inundated with promises
You are
left,
comparing me
right.
to
But there are
government.
some people,
Oh,
I
how?
see how people will disagree with you.
Oh,
Kumewu people will disagree with you. They got promises. They got the promises fulfilled. So what are you talking
Well,
about?
quite interestingly, now we have MP-elect. Yesterday, if you joined in the conversation, we threw another angle into the mix. Well, we have a win now, but we know his criminal court case is still in the pipeline.
That's right.
What happens in the event that it doesn't go in the way that he is hoping, the NDC is hoping, and I'm guessing the good people, the 57% of people in Asin North, if it doesn't go their way, are we going to see another by-election? Is Asin North going to become the hottest constituency in Ghana with all sorts? Very soon, the SkyTrain will start from Asin North and end in Asin North.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
The one that was supposed to have started from the Nima area that we never saw.
We never saw.
Hey,
And
good
in
morning
fact,
to the Honorable Atachian.
Good morning to him. I think as per feasibility studies, when experts really thought about the cost involved, a single ticket or a single ride on that SkyTrain would set you back about $500 just to ride on the SkyTrain. So I don't know who the target audience really is.
That's very cheap, because
But the Tema Accra one, we know the seat top.
The land train crowd, we know they see top.
So what are we talking about?
In any case,
We've been talking about a real linking Accra to Kumasi. We are not seeing top. We are not even crawling, and we are suddenly talking about running. We have to. It's a step-by-step process.
I
You
agree.
crawl before you walk. And if it's taking us 60-something years before we can even begin to crawl, and suddenly we think that we can start running around the compound, then there's a problem. There must be a problem with the way we see things.
Well, somebody who sees no problem with the way that he sees things is Ben Epson, and you can catch that story on 3news.com. A lot of buzz going around, and it's not just him that's come under fire. Before the elections, there were predictions that were made by other persons, other bodies. Global Info Analytics predicted a slim margin, but with the MPP taking the lead. Of course, we know that wasn't the case. In fact, the NDC widened its margin this time around. But on 3news.com, you'll catch the story. I won't stop predicting elections, Benefson states. And as mentioned here, he says he will be carrying on with the predictions. Managing editor of the Daily Dispatch, Ben Emmanuel Efson, says the only election prediction he usually gets wrong are the internal party elections. For general elections, he said, except 2016, he has gotten all the results spot on since 1996. This, he intimated, motivates him to continue to predict the outcome of elections, and he's not stopping after so many years of getting it right. Why do pollsters get so much backlash when their predictions are wrong? And what is the role of such predictions, as concerns the elections? Do they have a major influence, or is it just for the purposes of data collection, research, and information dissemination?
Okay, so with them getting the backlash after getting the prediction wrong, it's a normal thing, because whenever they get it right, we praise them.
That's right.
We start calling them here and there, we start giving
What are
them
the
the titles,
numbers?
the poster, So as they enjoy the praises, they should be willing and prepared to accept the criticisms or the backlash. And it's not something out of this world for a poster to get his or her predictions wrong. It do happen sometimes because when it comes to human behavior, or if your experiment is not a controlled subject, it makes it difficult for you to have that 100% or more of your answers correct, because human behavior, we can't predict. Humans change, their minds change anytime, and when it comes to election, there are a lot of stuff that can create that change. When money exchange hands, it's probable that people will have their mind change. Some people even will just change their mind at the last minute. I've seen an election that the winning candidate, campus election, the guy had won in advance. Everybody knew that this guy was going to win the election. The last day of campaign, he went to one of the halls to go and make his announcement there, to go and give his message. So he was talking, one guy shouted from the top there, "Hey, but you, we are all students here, and see how flamboyant your campaign is, your posters, your banners everywhere. Why are you spending so much money on student election? Where do you get the money from?" And the guy said, "Oh, my brother, you see, me, I'm not an ordinary student." And that was it. The intention of the candidate was not to, lord himself above the other
Mind
students.
the other students.
He was just trying to tell them that I'm not just a student. That was the word you should have used. I'm not just a student. Because at the time, the guy was working in one of the top media houses in Ghana. Very popular on TV. He had money.
Okay.
So that was what he wanted to say, that I'm not just a student. I work as well. But he said, I'm not an ordinary student. And that was it. One guy said, "Hey, you are not an ordinary student."
So who's an ordinary student?
And the other candidate will come and he say, "Hello, fellow student, I'm an ordinary student like
Is
you."
it humble
Yes,
servant?
Humble servant.
And the guy lost
I'm
the
here
election.
for you.
Well, speaking of which, do you think then that what the president said when he addressed the good people of Asin North maybe had some bearing
Was
on?
bad, in fact.
You think it had an
Yes,
impact?
it had a good impact on the election because even the most wicked person has people who love him or her. So you have to be careful how you address people, especially when you are in the position of privilege. If I had said that, it would have been an ordinary statement. But
Because
to
you are
have
an
come
ordinary
from
student.
yes, but to have come from the not ordinary student,
Yes.
then it means that people will take it seriously. And again, yes, you ask whether these polls do have influence on the election. They do. They do. I don't know why people have this orientation that because I'm voting for 6-2s, he should win. That's not it. The reason why we exercise our franchise, okay, and it's a secret ballot, is that go and vote for the person that, in your estimation, is the best
The best.
for that position. So me, I vote in an election to clear my conscience. The only time I consider my vote a wasted vote is when I vote for the person wins and does not deliver.
Fair point.
That one, it pains me a lot. So some of us, when people are talking about, we don't bother because we did not repose that trust or vim in such a person.
The person.
So for me, I vote to clear my conscience. So, but people think that whilst I'm voting for 6-2s, he has to win. So they want to vote for the winning, the potential, person who can win the election. And that's so when people 6-2 is going to win, 6-2 is going to win, all the polls are showing 6-2 is going to win. Then because per our inclination we don't want to be associated with failure, people indirectly or they will not unconsciously vote for the one who is likely to win. So they do have influence and they can also tilt to the other side as well. So yeah, as for the great Benefson,
Well, he says he still added. I don't know
I
what
like-
his
I like-
margin
I
of
like- I
error
like his
was.
courage.
How many elections has he got wrong in the very recent past? How many predictions has he got wrong?
I recall that. So our last major elections in the year 2020, he had a lot of breakdowns. I have to revisit what he said then when we spoke with him. He wasn't spot on across the board. But he says he has a good track record, and we must rely on said track record.
He does have a good track record, but you see, in the recent past, he's not been reliable because a lot of the predictions he's done in the very recent past have not come true, and this is supposed to be a science. It's not something that. Of course, there are margins of error.
That's right.
But it's not something that you do and it's the results come and it's the direct opposite. In fact, the day I heard the headlines, I think on Monday, both Global Info Analytics and Benefson had predicted a win for the NPP, and I was shocked. Well, for Benefson, with all due respect, I wasn't surprised to hear his prediction. I was expecting that.
Why were
Don't
you
ask
not
me
surprised to hear? No, 6-2. Give us a breakdown why.
Because I looked at the predictions in the very recent past and how he's always predicted and it doesn't come to pass, and also how he's got it all wrong in the very recent past. And I compared that to Global Info Analytics, the
Right.
predictions that they have also had in the very recent past. And to be fair, Musa Dankwa is fairly new in this area. If we are talking about the poll predictions, research, election research, and all of that, Benefsin is the father of it in this country. We know that.
That's right.
In our university days, he was the one we're all looking up to. If you were to organize any seminar or student discussion on election, Benefsin must be on that panel. So yes, the respect is there. The track record, we can never dispute it. But something went wrong along the line. And what is that? And maybe this is the time for him to do a deep introspection of his work. Is he still going by the principles that he's always gone by in the past years? Is he his research, is it still top notch, or he's taking some things for granted?
It sounds as though you think maybe he might have deviated from his original path. Maybe the methodology has changed.
Maybe there's a problem with the methodology. Maybe he doesn't go out onto the field as he used to. Maybe he doesn't employ as many hands as he used to. Maybe he relies more on media. Don't forget the role media has had in our elections over the years.
Correct.
In fact, the proliferation of media outlets, it's had so much impact on the election that we cannot discount it. And a lot of people tend to sit in their offices, listen to politicians on the airwaves, and conclude that this party is going to win, this candidate is going to win, this is going to happen in this constituency, and all of that. For ordinary people like us, ordinary in the sense of, is there a word like poll-strain?
We can conjure it today. Why not? It's allowed.
Yes.
It's allowed.
It's a holiday.
In linguistics,
It's a
we call it
holiday.
coinage.
Coinage. There
Yes.
we go.
So I
Coin
just coined
away,
it.
please.
So when it comes to this, I'm a layman, and I obviously would have to listen to the likes of Benefsin. But if I sit back as a journalist and I follow the reports that we would have done in the build-up to an election, you can clearly tell if you are a news person, a current affairs person in a media house. More often than not, you can tell where the elections will go.
And I thought I was on that same trajectory as the rest of the team up until I actually saw both Global Analytics poll and Benefsin's poll. And I
That is
thought
why I
actually,
said I was shocked.
This is and that swayed
I
me.
was
So
shocked.
as the results were coming in, I kept on looking back to the information that had been given. A lot of the commentary involved the fact that Charles Opoku is well liked in the area, well known, has strong family ties as compared to James Kwesen. Also, because of the case that James Gyakye Kwesen is involved in, people thought maybe that sort of baggage would go against him. Something the president even alluded to, that somebody that has strife and trouble, is that somebody you want to be taken?
And for
up
me,
your-
that's a variable I would have rather used to the advantage of Gyakye Kwesen.
which actually might have played out in what we've seen, that those comments
Yes.
were not taken lightly, and people
At
thought,
all.
well, the case is not yet done. What do you know that we perhaps don't know? Let me say good morning to another ordinary student in the building. Mr. William Esiedu, good morning to you. Very well suited and booted for the occasion. Happy Eid al-Adha to you, sir.
Thank you.
How did you sleep yesterday?
I didn't sleep yesterday. I slept this morning.
You slept this morning, of course, very busy. The election command center was on fire. We do all.
If you
do all.
slept early, there would have
Agauli.
been something wrong.
Yes, Agauli, you do
But
all.
you see, back to the
Yeah.
president's comment. It's something that I have said that discount all the positions that we have, the status, the respect, he should have known better, status that we have ascribed to the president in these comments. To say that for me, the most important of all is that he's supposed to be a statesman. He's a father of the nation. And there must be a point at which we draw the line between partisan politics and national security, nation building for that matter. As the president, I wasn't expecting such a comment from him. No. I was expecting such a comment from ordinary foot soldiers of the party, communicators of the party, somebody who, one of those loose talkers or reckless the party commentators should have made that comment. Then some more reasonable members within the party would have been called upon. Ultimately, the president be called upon to crack the whip,
Yeah.
or rein such a person in. But for the president of the republic, sitting president for that matter, in fact, I don't even expect a former president to make such a comment.
And
Forget that he's a lawyer.
Forget
Forget that he's distinguished himself in his practice, and himself in the place of the Ghana Law Report that every constitutional law student would quickly refer to some cases with so much respect and deference to the president. But the one important thing that should have made the president stay away from such comments is that statesmanship. That at this point we should be seeing him as the man who speaks and there's order, there's decorum. But if the president of the land is speaking on a case that is pending before the court, and it's so definitive on it as he was, and I thought that it was unnecessary. Doesn't matter that he was speaking on a party political platform. It doesn't matter.
Okay, you think that shouldn't have spilled over into the element of him being a statesman, even to the point where he says, well, James Kwesi might not even be able to come to me, vote for somebody who can come to me. Why can't he come to you?
And that was it.
Why can't he come to you?
It also points to one of the suspicions that we've always had as media people and as governance people, that our politics is so polarized that there is the opposition and there's the ruling. Even within the ruling, there is the opposition. Ever heard the statement that you are in opposition in government?
That's right.
And that's the most terrible thing any politician can face. That even though his party is in power in this country, he's not counted as part of the class of people who should be administering the country.
This one there is simple. In every political party, we have two groups. We have the party supporters,
Right.
and the party eaters.
The supporters
And the
the
eaters.
eaters.
The eaters, they eat even when in opposition. The party eaters, they will always eat, and the supporters will be doing the shouting.
So the supporters are the ordinary students.
Yeah, no, we the ordinary members.
The ordinary members. And
students.
if you've been following along, you know what we mean by that that statement. But there's more stories here on 3news.com. This one is as follows. A Sin North win is a signal to the rest of Ghana. So we're expanding that conversation again this morning. What are the signals that this by-election is giving us? Is that a sign of things to come? But General Secretary of the NDC, Franklin Fifi Kwete, has saluted the people of Asin North and is asking the rest of the country to take a cue from the victory recorded in yesterday's by-elections. I'm quoting him here. He says, "This is a signal that any wise person will learn from. Intelligent people will learn from. Any humble person will learn from." He was reacting on 3FM Tuesday evening, yesterday, after provisional results from the day's by-election in Asin North put the NDC's rep James Tachikwesen ahead of the NPP. He goes on to say what the people have indicated is something that the whole country must pay attention to. Do you think that the ruling party will be maybe quaking in their boots this morning, as the saying goes? Will they be looking at that loss as a wake-up call to sit up? We saw that the temperature was very different in Kumewu. We know the temperature there, we know the flavor there, we know the precedent there. That was a different ball game. And as in North, things tend to change as and when. Do you think the government should be worried this morning, or will they be sitting comfortable?
Well, I think all politicians should be watching the way elections are going globally. We're all surprised when Donald Trump won the election. In Argentina, it happened, and the research has shown that now people are moving from the conventional way of, responding to polls. For instance, if you come as a pollster to them, you shouldn't necessarily take what they tell you. They hide their intentions. For instance, if you go to Asin North, somebody will take money and tell you that he will vote for the MPP. So you add that number to the MPP's, if you like, numbers. But the intention all over the world is I mean, the pollsters are saying that it's very difficult for people to now, especially if the election is controversial, like as in North, like Trump, as happened in Argentina and other places. It's difficult for you to get the response. So people are even now using machine learning to do the polls rather than listening to people. Secondly, putting personalities on your survey for people to vote for personalities is getting missing. So people are now looking at subjects. They're looking at climate change, they're looking at the economy, they're looking at roads, infrastructure and everything. So if your polls are based on that, then you look at which party is doing a lot of that. So that's why somebody will look at what MPP is doing in the place and say, because they are doing roads, MPP will win. You know, so the dynamics of polls are changing. So what happened yesterday, as you're asking, the politicians should be doing more research. Their research unit should be doing more research on their own, as Professor Jampo said, rather than listening to just polls done by. And thirdly and lastly for me, pollsters are also sometimes commissioned by interested parties.
And in fact, I wanted to come to that.
Yeah,
There's this assumption or this thing that maybe you've been influenced, or a pollster can be influenced.
No, I mean, it's there. I mean, a party can ask you to do some polls for them, and it's a human nature. So maybe just
But
you
you
pay them.
professional even with that?
But we know that in professional circles, people are still human. You know
So
what I
see,
mean?
If I commissioned a poll,
Yes.
the only reason would be for me to know where I stand,
Correct.
what I can do to get to where I want to
Yes,
get
good.
to.
It's good you said if you commission a poll. There are some people who want to commission a poll to just use the poll to put themselves in the better
Yes, it's
light.
a facade.
That-
Yes.
that is
Yes.
also there.
So
That's
Safi
also there.
Akoto said that if he also sponsors
Exactly.
a
So
poll,
it's something
he will
that
be
is
in the
happening.
lead.
Yes.
Yes, that's also there. But you
He
see,
will praise
it
the
enhances
piper.
the
Not
perception.
there should be levels of this. If at the beginning of the campaign, for instance, I want to see where I stand as a candidate or as a political party in Asin North. These are the issues at stake. What do the people think? So you do that kind of general poll, and this should be professional. This should be without any inducement whatsoever, so that you get a true reflection. But of course, I admit that there are instances where, for shege reasons, as we put it, you just want a certain kind of result to put out there to try to convince the people who are also going to be influenced by the popular wave. Like we're saying, yes. Like we're saying, people are also undecided and they are looking to see where everybody is going, so they can also move towards that direction. And
So
that is the reason why.
you can
But the
also have that.
interesting thing
Yes.
is that all the analysis that you've made, you and I sitting here wouldn't know which one was commissioned, which one was professional.
No, we won't.
We will not.
So that's what
We
it is.
won't.
But William, you mentioned Professor Jampo. He's also captured here on 3news.com. He says Dachi Kweson's victory is not surprising. His popularity soared. Let's get into that story because I think there are some interesting points here. Yesterday when we picked up the Finder, they had broken down what both parties were standing on to campaign. The MPP was touting some 118 projects that had been put out. They didn't break down what those projects were, and as William cleverly asked, when? In fact, these 118, is it
When
some
did they
borehole,
start?
toilet, door handle, all these things? When were they? Is it 100 of them put together in 2 weeks? Let's find out.
Already budgeted for.
Budgeted for another very important question because we don't have money for games. And of course, the Finder newspaper juxtaposed that against the NDC's campaign message, which essentially was hinged on the economy and the hardships we're facing. Well, a professor at the University of Ghana, Ransford Jampo, has attributed the victory of the NDC candidate James Dachi Kweson in the just ended Asin North by-election to his popularity that inched up due to the controversies he got involved in, as well as what he's calling sympathy votes and the general economic hardships. Professor Jampo said he was not surprised by Mr. Kweson's victory. I'm quoting him here. He says his popularity inched up, he got sympathy votes, and the general economic hardship also helped him. He was speaking on Ghana Tonight yesterday. He added, for me, I wasn't surprised. What I was surprised though was at the broad display of arrogance by the ruling party. Mr. Kwesi thanked all persons who supported him to ensure his victory. Speaking to journalists just before he was declared winner yesterday, he says, "I believe in the rule of law and I do things according to the law. Also, I have the support of my constituents, not just the people of Asin North alone, my NDC fraternity, and people from the other side of the aisle in the NPP who were also supporting me, although they will not be able to publicly identify themselves." Of course, we know that. We know why. He says he was treated unfairly, but he didn't know what the results were going to be. But the good people of Asin North have demonstrated that they have a conscience and they believe in me. So again, this story, talking about the two
But
separate.
did we really see the general hardship of the economy come to play as a factor in this election?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
NDC
Once
led.
talking.
The NDC led with
The
that
constituents were even
message.
talking.
But stopped along the way.
No, I mean, no, they were talking.
I think
They
up
told
until
them
the
that, look,
end.
For me, I
Yes.
thought this all
No.
came down to the treatment Gyakye Kwesi
So that was
got.
fundamental, but the hardship also played a part because the individuals on the ground, the citizens or the natives of Asin North, were talking in front of the cameras. They were saying that, I mean, they even mentioned the fact that E-Levy did not come in just yesterday.
Yeah.
One of the police station, chairman, said, look, they said this E-Levy will come, things will be okay, nothing happened. IMF loan will come, nothing
of
happened.
a political party, the person who spoke was a politician, right?
Yeah, but I mean-
like if we look at the
I
ordinary
mean, that's what I'm saying.
conversation-
I'm just topping up with what that individual
Yeah.
said, but generally it was so. And talking about the fact that the man became popular because of all the media attention was on him from day one.
Yeah.
And as we speak, I think the Asin North election, the NPP marketed the party more than the individual who
candidate.
was standing. Because as we speak, I don't even know the man's voice. So he came into the election last minute, and there were allegations that, I mean, I can't confirm this because I read it in the media that Samuel Jevi had said that
he was
at the
at
point
NDC.
he even approached them to
Yes.
stand for the party, and he came to the table the last minute. So if he comes from Asin Breku, Asin North has Kushia, has this, has that. Was he popular in those other towns or those electoral areas? If he wasn't, why was he not talking to make himself attractive to those people outside Asin Breku? It was as if Gyakye Kwesi comes from Asin Breku. I also come from Asin Breku, so we are going to split the vote and I'm going to win. That was the narrative that was going. But what was he doing to attract votes from the other areas? We never heard his voice.
But if you how was his
As we speak,
performance?
have you heard him speak?
In Breku, Asin Breku. You see, Asin Breku, aside the issue of the economic hardship, one thing that they have faced in recent time is murder. About 3 people have been murdered in their farms in Asin Breku from December to I think February. So they had issues. They approached me. They called me from there to highlight those issues. That it was something that was really affecting them, And Asin Breku, they largely live on rice farm. They do a lot of rice farming. Yes, there's a place I know. I know Asin Breku. I know.
You have added power. I see you are forcing to convince them that they know the place.
No. As for Asin Breku, I have a special.
We won't ask you why you know the place.
I have a
but
special.
He's still digging.
Yeah.
By the time
I have
he lands,
a special. I have families there.
You have families.
Yes, I have other things there.
Okay,
sure.
But you don't have a rice farm there. Not yet.
You want my boss to stop giving me, tips and cash. Okay, you don't mind Helen. I have nothing.
He
there.
doesn't have a
Sort me
rice
out.
farm.
So in fact, the economic hardship played a role. The insecurity there also played a role, and again, Gyakye Kwesi, apart from the fact that he's coming from opposition and people are not so happy with the performance of the government, personally he has worked.
That is the sentiments of the people
Yes.
there. Okay.
Yeah, so it is a lesson to all politicians. The eyes that see you promote you. So that eye that is seeing you, what is the eye seeing about you?
Well, let's move on because our problems still exist. The IMF, Fitch, all those things are still very much with us. The by-elections, they've come and gone, and it's now time for us to, as we say, face our front.
Yeah, but before we leave the by-election,
Sure.
I'm glad I'm in the midst of people who are students of law. So the Supreme Court decided that
Sounds like your man is coming to ask
Jackie
for legal
Kwesi
advice.
should leave the post. So he was booted out of parliament.
Right.
Now he has won the election. So from the scratch, I mentioned it here that I'm confused, and I asked if he wins and later he loses the court criminal case. Is it going to be a situation where we're going to have another by-election? You've asked it this morning.
Yes.
So if that should be the case, can someone decide to take the Supreme Court on for causing financial loss to the state?
What are you saying?
I think I saw that sentiment on social media. I think, as William said
Has it happened
yesterday,
before?
it's probably
Can-
not
can-
going to come to pass, because we don't have too much time. Again, William, you made that point, until the general elections.
A by-election will not be conducted if there's just 6 months, I think, between the vacancy, the time the vacancy occurred and the next general election. I think it's 6 months or so.
Okay.
So between now and next year, there's still more than a
Well,
year.
there is still some
So there
time.
can be a by-election in any constituency.
Yes.
Any constituency. There can be a by-election for any reason. Yes. So until that happens, we can't say that there won't be a by-election if just, supposing Jackie Kwesi is convicted and there's a vacancy created. What is the time between the time the vacancy occurs and the next general election? I don't know if we can quickly check. I think it's 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, yesterday I made a
Six
So
point.
it is
Yeah.
still
6 months.
a possibility.
It's still a
Can
possibility.
someone take the Supreme Court on?
What
You
would
take
they be
for
standing
what?
on?
For what?
That's
the
the
financial loss to
apex
the
court.
state.
What are you taking
On
them
what
for?
ground?
You can
I don't know. I'm wondering why you can take them
you can only go for
for
review,
review.
or grumble. Finish. That's it. You can't sue the Supreme Court.
I'm wondering.
But I'm looking at the criminal court, and I'm looking at, the criminal case, and I'm looking at the fact that, all the ingredients of the matter will be hinged on two issues: the alleged criminal act and the alleged criminal intention. So for now, he's before the court because the Attorney General alleges that there's a criminal act. But what is left is for the courts and all the parties involved to establish the criminal intention. And that's where I'm looking at it very interestingly, because that's what will determine the outcome of that criminal case. And I'm also looking at maybe, purposive approach to determining the case because of its effects on the politics of the state, the financial implication if it should happen again, and all this. So these are all things that in jurisprudence you may add to it, but you cannot go to determine or prejudice the case by making comments that the man is a prison MP. When Nkrumah even was in prison, he won election. So all the discussions that are going on, it will be hinged on these two major things.
Okay. I think I'm
The alleged
But
criminal intention. Yes.
You see, the decision of the Supreme Court maybe was what even emboldened the Office of the Attorney General to pursue this case. Because if the Supreme Court held the way it did, it simply means that the act is already been condemned. And like you said, now we are looking for the intention.
Yeah.
And it's before the court. I'm not the
That's what I'm saying.
president. I won't get away with it if I.
Let's just
Let's
stop there.
let's stop.
All right.
I know.
Let's stop here.
I'm not the president
Let's
of
talk
the Republic.
money.
I won't get
Exactly.
away
So
with
that's
it, so.
the only discussion we can have, because it's a criminal case, and criminal cases are determined on the fact that it must be proven beyond reasonable doubt, and not necessarily by the determination of the bystander. So going forward, it's going to be a very, very interesting case.
And even after all, what is justice?
And
It's
I'm looking
what
at-
the judge says it is.
And I'm looking at a situation where, looking at the fact that the man has already literally been in parliament for almost 3 years already, and it's just 1 year. And looking at how lawyers behave, they can go in and out of that courtroom for the next 1 year, and we'll just
get to the
check out.
sense, man.
All right, let's talk money, gentlemen. Credit rating agency Fitch has indicated that despite Ghana's split Parliament of Ghana, they believe the government will be able to introduce most IMF-related reforms over the coming months. Fitch said that Ghana's program is in part focused on improving fiscal dynamics by raising revenues and decreasing expenditure, implying that the government will seek to implement additional fiscal policy changes in the months ahead. It added that the opposition lawmakers have been able to offer significant pushback against former legislative proposals such as the e-levy in 2022, given that the NDC has an equal number of seats in the House as the governing New Patriotic Party NPP. However, given that NDC leader John Mahama called on the government to seek IMF assistance in early 2022, pushback against IMF-related reforms could negatively impact the NDC's credibility going into the December 2024 general election, something we believe the opposition will aim to avoid, Fitch said in a statement. And you can find that full statement again on 3news.com attached to the story. Yesterday, we talked about the split in Parliament and what we think the impact has been so far. I mean, yes, I mentioned e-levy yesterday as one of the ways in which I saw that hung Parliament really, show some change from what we've seen. I would say another one of the more significant changes that I've seen of the 8th Parliament is some of the questions that have been admitted by the Speaker, some of the issues that have been uncovered, which you might not have seen in a different Parliament. But IMF is saying that it is in the opposition's best interest to agree to some of these IMF reforms. It will inure to their benefit come 2024 because they, in fact,
necessarily
pushed.
The case.
He says this report or this story says they were pushing for government to go early 2022 if you support the IMF so much.
When government eventually decided to go to the IMF, one of the initial reactions we got from the leader of the NDC was that then Mahama was the leader at the time, right? Yeah. Was that we told you to do this earlier. If you had done that at the time we asked you to do it, we wouldn't have seen some of the troubles we are seeing today. So already that's an opening that has been created for the NDC. Again, the fact that the NDC encouraged government to go to the IMF does not mean that anything that comes out of the program would be accepted by the party. No, in fact, I would be surprised if that happens. Why do I say this? Let's look at some of the key reforms that people generally, not just members of NDC members of parliament or NDC as a party, but Ghanaians generally had asked for. There was conversation about a review of some of the social policy interventions,
Correct.
like school feed, not school feeding,
Free
SHS. There was a strong push for a review of the program, at least make it more targeted than it is, and at least ensure that it is more impactful and going down to the benefits of the people who really, really need it. This is one of the campaigns that the NDC has also been very loud on. So imagine that the government does not want to, review it. Just imagine. Would you say that because the NDC asked them to go to the IMF, then the NDC would support whatever form in which free SHS comes back? Of course, we know that the fact that we've gone to the IMF does not mean that all social policy interventions will be scrapped. No, it won't happen. The whole idea is to cushion the people.
That's right.
Of course, we expect, as for taxation and all of that, we still expect a lot more hardship in the months and years to come. But we do not expect that the opposition would agree with the government on all matters IMF simply because the opposition encouraged the government of the day to go to the IMF. I don't expect that. I expect the opposition to still do its job. I expect the opposition to still scrutinize the all policy proposals, all projects that are coming out of the IMF support, and to ensure that it goes to meet the benefits of the people. That's what I expect.
Okay, so you may pardon me for maybe my understanding of this whole thing. I think the IMF is telling the opposition that you are a potential government in waiting. So these policies that we have, recommended, are to us, they are very important for the Ghanaian economy to get back, on track. So if you win, you are going to benefit from them. I think that is what they are trying to say. It happens, I remember back in GIJ, we had to take a very serious decision with regards to the SRC dues, and I was the SRC president. So they voted at the GA, and it was a tie. So I had to vote, and we were to decide whether to increase it by 100% or 50%, and I supported 100%. And one of the top guys in the school, in fact, the guy can write. He wrote some serious articles to bash me, and people were calling me to react. But this boy, but this guy. Even when you are preaching, he reads the Bible for you. So I told them to let it be. This is politics. If those closer to you cannot criticize you, then who are you? The guy later, I think there was an SRC president after me, J. Joseph Befi, and after he also became the SRC president. That was when he realized that the decision I supported was the best, because even that money that we were going to pay, the dues, I was not going to use it. I was leaving the school, but I thought of them because I had experienced difficult situations, and I thought it was that no, we needed to go that way. So sometimes for the now, you might not see the need or the importance of certain decisions, but with time, you get to know. That is what IMF is trying to tell maybe the opposition. But, it's not cast in concrete that IMF policies or recommendations are going to take us out of the, dungeon, because we've been to them on countless occasions.
That is right.
But whether the NDC or the opposition supports whatever the IMF is saying or not, the money came based on certain conditionalities.
Yeah.
And as we speak, the money has not been released in bulk. It is coming in tranches based on what you do and what you don't do. As we seek to get the next tranche, there's an IMF person sitting here in Ghana watching us. So for me, whatever the NDC says or doesn't say, we have locked ourselves in the conditionalities. So how are we going to vary it? And then, because the money is not sitting there in the vote of the Bank of Ghana. First tranche has come, second one is going to come. They are going to inspect your books and see how you are faring. So that's what it is. At the end of the day, whatever the NDC says or doesn't say or said in the past, we will have very little to do. Okay. And that is why we are even hearing that there's going to be there's consideration for the another DDP that's
restructuring.
Yeah. I mean,
I think those conversations are very much ongoing. Wherever the government can restructure internal debts, they will do so. Wherever they see that there's an opportunity, they will.
The bondholders are still not getting their money.
That is right.
Okay.
Money is coming late.
Well, everybody's speaking against it, but the government is still negotiating with them and saying, look, hold on, let's cut your interest. So the conditionalities are there.
A refresher course, ladies and gentlemen.
My colleague, Deputy Minister, said, we are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, We are not people of short sight, and we have to move on. Okay, so let's think of us as who we are, a proud, strong people, the shining star of Africa, and we have the capacity to do what we want to do. If only we can speak that one language and ensure that we burden share in the issues ahead.
and ensure that we bed and share in the issues ahead. Well, we'll park it here for the news review. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for that. Again, welcome to the special holiday edition. If you've only just joined us, do get comfortable. We've got a lot in store for you. Some great music, of course, kind courtesy of DJ Abiam.